Retention series, episode number 8, we have the demographic issue. So let's kind of review this for a lot of people. So traditionalists, which are really the ones that are retiring and are retired right now in the United States, are people that are born pre-19, well, they're 1900 to 1945. So basically pre-1945. They only make about 1% of the workforce right now. The next ones, the largest demographic, is the baby boomers, born 1946 to 1964. And they have all the intellectual intelligence, experience-wise, especially in our in our organizations right now. The next one is the Gen X, which I relate to. That's 1965 to the 1980s, and then they account to about 20% of the workforce right now. Then you have the millennials, 1981 to 1995, and then of course we have the Gen Z, which are born after 1995. Sometimes I think to refer to as the I generation, those that grew up with the internet in their life. The bridging the generational gaps becomes extremely apparent for larger organizations or organizations that have always survived on the baby boomers and now are trying to attract younger talent. So you think about these different generations and what they've gone through, the technological advances. The baby boomers have experienced the greatest amount of growth, going from like black and white, maybe even radio, to all of a sudden, virtual reality, AI, technology. It's leaps and bounds for them. Your Generation Z, they grew up with similar growth because they didn't grow up with the internet, they didn't grow up with email, they didn't grow up with cell phones, where all of a sudden that became the biggest movement for them. The millennials, the cell phone existed and their ability to communicate really became more on the texting format. So one of the great talks out there, you can find it on YouTube, is by Simon Sinek, where he talks about the 4 issues that he sees with millennials when it comes to what they're experiencing right now and why they get such a bad rap. So it's not necessarily, this is not meant to be derogatory towards millennials as much as it's meant to be informative. So number 1 is parenting. These people typically were parented in kind of a poor status, right? So it was everybody gets a participation trophy. Nobody's a winner, nobody's a loser. Everybody just gets something because they decided to show up. And so some people kind of have this idea that they deserve something for really not doing anything, just by showing up. The next one is they lived in a tech world. So they were given the opportunity to have the internet. They were given computers and laptops. And not necessarily that they were just give it to them, but they had it at their fingertips. They had the ability to be able to access all these wonderful tools. And that created a little bit of impatience, instant gratification. Whatever they wanted, they could just have. And a lot of those things didn't create the character, the quality of character that they wanted. So for example, you have Tinder, which is swipe left, swipe right. You can kind of have these superficial relationships. But again, those superficial relationships cannot account for a true relationship that's built on trust and hard work through those struggles together. And then finally, number 4 is environment. So ultimately they find themselves right now in the corporate environment, and now we as an organization have to figure out, how do we train and develop these individuals to get to where they want to go? At the same time, we'll let that go by. The downside of recording outside. So we can say that it's not our problem because, again, we're a corporation. We have to deal with those things. The reality is that as baby boomers leave, this is going to be the largest part of our workforce to replace the baby boomers, are millennials. And so we need to know how we can help them develop. So when it comes to feeling like they get participation trophies, which, by the way, didn't make the loser feel better, right? When you get in the 15th place ribbon, it's white, versus the person that got first and it's blue, you know that there's something wrong, right? It doesn't, that one's better than this one. Don't even give it to that person, because now you've embarrassed them that they got this white piece of garbage. It ends up getting thrown in the trash anyway. So helping them understand that they need to earn things, that it's okay to be able to have a go at things and not be the winner and not participate, that it's going to be based on results, not just showing up. That needs to be trained So that way they understand exactly where the organization's coming from and not trying to discount their hard work and their effort. The next one is when it comes to technology is making sure that they understand the harsh reality of what the world is. At the same time, understand that they too have to figure out how to work through the stressors of life. That you can't put a filter on everything and assume that that's going to make it good. Just because I put a filter on doesn't mean that I don't have acne on my face. Just because I can cut out certain parts of my body in a photo filter doesn't mean that I don't need to lose weight. And that becomes extremely difficult for some people to understand, is that you don't need to be putting forth this beautiful facade of a life, because no one's life is perfect. And it doesn't look like that. We are all struggling with something. No matter who I've talked to, no matter what part of the world I've been in, people all struggle with something. It doesn't mean that they aren't happy, it's just that they're all dealing with something. The loss of a loved one, feeling like they want more, feeling like they aren't smart enough, feeling like life isn't satisfying, dealing with the dilemma of where to live, what college to go to, what school to go to, for their children. There's a multitude of just different things that we're dealing with on a continual basis as we live through life. When it comes to patients, helping them understand that this is the path, this is how we're going to help you progress and move along in this career path. And so that way it's not about time, it's about helping you get better. Now, we can hack certain things, but there's a lot of things like skills and abilities that cannot get replaced with hard work and effort, especially in the professional world. And then finally, the environment that we have. What are we doing to really truly help develop our individuals? And I don't care what generation that is. Every single person needs to feel like they are moving forward in a way that's meaningful to them. And again, each person's it might be meaningful for someone to have more income. Some other people, it might be a title. Other people, it might be what they're actually learning. And so when you can start getting your different generations, the organizations that you belong to, involved with this, you're going to have much stronger relationships within your organization, and you're going to have much stronger employees as a whole. Sherm's out.